Hi, you are welcome to Paradigm Shift channel, and my name is Vera Bernice Appiah. We all know we are here to change your mindset about certain social discussions like marriage, finances, life issues, and many more. And today we have a very beautiful woman here, and she has a lot to tell us. Can you introduce yourself to us?
Absolutely. So we share the same last name, actually. My name is Appiah,
Wow.
and I'm currently an RBT, so that's a registered behavior technician. I work with kids with autism, and I'm in school to become a board certified behavior analyst. So in that role, I will be the one preparing programs to implement for kids with autism. And I'm so glad to be here because we're going to talk about autism today.
Nice to meet you.
Same here.
So today our topic is still on autism awareness. Can you tell me something about autism, all that you know about autism?
Yes. So I will start by saying one thing, that not one kid with autism is the same. Autism is a spectrum. Even when they're diagnosing, they have 3 levels, level 1, level 2, and 3, and that's based on their function level. There are kids on the very high spectrum, so they call them high functioning. They used to call them Asperger's. And then there are also those on the very low spectrum, so those who are level 3. Okay. A level 1 kid with autism would communicate, would do things socially, because that's where they struggle most, social relationship with others. But a level 1 kid would have all that, but they still struggle with some aspects. Okay. Some kids who are level 2 might be nonverbal, or they might be partially verbal. Most of them might have echolalia. Echolalia is they repeat exactly what you say. For example, if you say, how are you? They also repeat, how are you? Instead of saying, I'm good or I'm fine. Okay. So that's echolalia. Some level 1, I don't think I have seen a level 1 kid with echolalia, but it's mostly predominant in kids who are level 2. And they also struggle socially, like they're always isolated. They don't want to interact with other people. Okay. They might also have issues with feeding. Okay. And social skills, what I've just mentioned, and then also their basic life skills. Level 3, most level 3 kids with autism are nonverbal, so they do not have speech, even though they understand everything you say. Most of them have very good receptive understanding, so they are able to understand what you say, but they are not able to communicate. So some of them use AAC devices that help them communicate. Others also use something we call PECs. Okay. So they are like the pictures that show, for example, if they want to eat, the PECs has eat. Okay. And then they can pick it and give it to their guardian or their caregiver, that this is what I need. But they need to be taught this to be able to communicate, because most people with autism, if they do not receive the care they need, they are not able to communicate or live a life, to the fullest. So what I would say that most people do not know is that autism is a spectrum. Not 2 kids with autism are the same. They may be even twins who are both on the autism spectrum, and they may have totally different functioning levels. Yeah. Growing up in Ghana, I didn't really know much about autism until I got here. And
so what changed your perspective about autism?
So my son had a speech delay. Okay. And so that's when I started reading about autism. And I was like, I used to think autism had a look. Yeah. Autism has no look. Mm-hmm. And like I said, even with a level 1 autistic kid, you wouldn't know that they are on the autism spectrum until you start interacting with them. That's when you realize that they might have social challenges. Okay. So researching and also actually living it and coming into contact with professionals, with other kids on the autism spectrum is what changed my perception about autism. And people with autism do not need to be shunned. I know that a lot of people say, oh, this kid lacks discipline.
Yeah.
I saw a video on Facebook where there was this very aggressive kid with autism. I think he was a teenager.
Yeah.
And the comments I saw, oh my goodness, broke my heart. People were like, oh, he just needs 5 days in my home and he's going to be straight.
I think
because I'm going to
like
discipline them. Yes. People with autism, especially kids, they are not like typical kids. Even imagine typical kids, especially those who are between the ages of 1 to 5.
Yeah.
They throw tantrums.
Yes.
They are aggressive. Yeah. Because they are still trying to understand the world, right? Yeah. Imagine if you start working in a new field, do you immediately grasp everything in that field?
Oh, no.
It takes you a while. You have to learn. Yes. So it's the same, even with typical kids. When they are growing up, they still need to adjust to the world we live in. Yes. How much more someone on the autism spectrum? It is very hard for them to communicate. Some of them have sensory overload, and if they have that sensory overload, they have a meltdown because they don't know how to communicate that to you. Yeah. Even a child between 1 to 3 years, if they want to ask for milk, for water, it is sometimes difficult. How much more a kid who has no words? So they struggle to communicate their needs, and that's why they are like that. So it is up to us to educate ourselves to know, why is this kid behaving like this? What can I do to support them? You don't think immediately about discipline. Yeah. I know a neighbor told one kid who had autism, oh, this kid just is so spoiled. You just need to discipline them.
Wow.
So they'll be straight. No. It's totally different when it comes to kids with autism. Yeah. Because like I said, it's a spectrum. Their functioning levels are different. Even imagine, like I said, a typical kid cannot even, comprehend some things and behave in the right way that
adult way.
Right. So we need to understand and meet them halfway. We need to, some kids are very aggressive. I was telling your husband earlier, they are very, very aggressive. Does that mean we have to also meet them like that? Does it mean we have to abuse them? No. We have to understand, is this something we can do to help them? For example, there are so many common choices. We can ask them, do you need a hug? Some of them do well with squeezes. So many things that I understand what you're going through. What can I help? I know they cannot communicate, but if we meet them, with a calm demeanor, I don't think they're going to, come at us like that. That's why we have so many services available. For that kid, that 15-year-old or that teenager I saw on Facebook, he would do well in a group home where they have professionals who are trained to handle these behaviors. Who knows, the mom might have tried so many things, but she might not be a professional. So you cannot blame the mom that, she is not disciplining the child, and that's why the child is like that. It's totally different when it comes to kids with autism. You cannot say they are not disciplined and that they need to be disciplined, they need to be punished. Punishment does not work with kids with autism. You have to learn how to deal with them. There are so many strategies that we can learn, and we might talk about some of them on here to help them. That's why we need more education about autism. We need more acceptance. There are people who do not even accept it. Oh, it's a lie. There's nothing like that. This is a normal kid, because they are expecting someone with a look, a certain kind of look. Oh, that's a normal kid. He's just spoiled. No. Autism is neurological, mostly. And I know that people think it is caused by vaccines or environmental factors. In my own experience, I think autism is about 90% genetic.
So you believe people saying that it's caused by vaccines are just myths?
Right.
Without proof.
Right, because there are so many, even as an adult, even me, I can say I have some behaviors that, because it's a spectrum, we do not know. And most adults walking about undiagnosed who seem to be normal or typical, but I even have OCD. Sometimes when I was coming here, I had to check 3 times if I had turned my stove off before I came.
Yeah.
We have
to us all.
yeah. So we all have some kind of autism, I would say. You see, so it is something that's genetic, and I say that because I know a family where all 4 kids are on the spectrum, and the parents say that they are on the spectrum too, and they have people in the family who also are on the spectrum.
Okay.
Also, there are so many. If you go deep down, that's why when someone is diagnosed with autism, they ask if you want to do a genetic testing, because they feel like it's in the genetics. There's someone who, and that's evidence-based. There have been so many researches about what actually causes autism. Mostly they will say we don't exactly know what causes it 100%, but there's definitely a genetic component. There might be some environmental factors. For example, if someone smokes and they're pregnant, there might be, you know, some issues with maybe formation of the brain or whatever. But, and well, there are people who swear that their kids were talking, and then all of a sudden they stopped talking, or they started exhibiting behaviors because they gave them some vaccines. I think that that is still something that is being researched into.
I want to ask this question. So, does it mean that parents who usually give their kids tablets to look help to increase the risk of having autism?
I cannot emphatically say that.
Okay.
But me, sometimes I give my kids tablets because they have learned a lot on that tablet. But also there should be a balance, right?
Okay.
There should be maybe during the weekdays they don't get tablets at all.
Yeah.
But weekends they get tablet up to a certain number of hours, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also times that we read, times that we sit together and play. We take them outside if the weather is fine and play.
Okay.
So there should be a balance. You cannot necessarily just give your kid tablet and stay there and let them stay in front of the tablet all day. And all they do is if they need something, they'll go to the pantry, pick it up. If they need something, they'll go into the fridge. They'll only need you or they'll only talk to you if they cannot do what they want. And that's not, you know, ideal, right? Yeah. I cannot say that giving kids tablets increase their risk of autism, but there should be a balance. We should be able to, especially with kids who are the only kid in the home, who do not have any association with any other kid. They do not go to daycare, they do not go to school. Yeah. You are the one who should communicate with them, talk to them. I used to do this when I had my girl, Albie. Whenever I'm dressing her, I teach her. So we're doing this, I'm applying lotion, I'm putting on underwear, I'm doing this and that and that. Yeah. When she went to daycare, whatever the teacher put on, she said it. So the teacher told me, how does your girl know all these? And I said, when I'm dressing her up, we talk, we communicate. That's one opportunity for us to communicate with our kids, especially if they don't have any other kid they can communicate with, right? So they can have a tablet, all right, but there should be a balance. We can read together, we can play together, and then also have play dates with other kids if they are the only kid at home. That would help build their social relationship, because that's where most kids with autism struggle with social communication. They always want to be in their own world. They always want to be in their corner. They don't want to interact with anyone. That's why some of them do not respond to their name, because they don't want any social interaction. And that's what we are trying to break, even with typical kids who do not even, who are not on the autism spectrum. They can also develop some sort of, you know, social isolation if we let them just stay on the couch with a tablet all day long.
That's true.
And they'll just they'll go to the pantry, they'll go and grab whatever they need, they'll go grab their snack. They will only need you if they need you to warm food for them. And I don't like to use this phrase, kids who have autism. Nope. Because it's not a disease that you say kids who have autism. I normally say children on the autism spectrum. that is a professional or a better way of saying it than saying kids. If you say kids who have autism, it's more like you're saying it's a disease, but it's not. Actually, for some kids, for most kids, autism is a superpower. Most of them are so smart, and some of them struggle a lot. Some of them have behaviors that are very extreme, that parents have done all they can. And, you know, they are actually out of their wits' end. What can we do? See, so some of them are struggling. Others are also doing very well with, you know, even though they are on the autism spectrum, they are smart. Most people who invented things in history, even Einstein was said to have been on the autism spectrum. So they are very smart. Even kids who are nonverbal. In my clinic where I work, the kids who are nonverbal, they know, they see everything, they know everything, they understand. They know your, you know, your demeanor. They tell if you're a good person or not.
Wow.
Even though they cannot speak, some of them cannot speak, but they are able to tell that based on the way they gravitate towards you, you can tell that this person. So they are smart. They are smart in their own way. There are some of them who can draw, who are artists, who are, even though they cannot speak or they have behavior issues, but they have exceptional skills that they pay attention to details that we miss. They pay attention to the very tiniest details of things. And this is with all people on the autism spectrum, regardless of their functioning level. They pay attention to tiny little details of things, how trains move, and complex things like the solar system, so complex. You would not even think, but they find delight in those things. So I would say that I think what we need to do is just, you know, giving them access to interventions that's going to help them to obtain their maximum potential, because that's what we want, right, in the end, for them to be able to do something with their lives, for them to be able to gain a living, to live, you know, like a typical person would, right?
When you have a child and you are not really sure of some behaviors that they are putting out in the house, it's better you go out there to meet a professional like a doctor to diagnose the child, to know whether they are under the spectrum or not, be educated.
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say. So, for example, if you have a kid, these days, even when you go to the hospital, they make you fill those forms. You know, before, autism was not as common. That's why people are blaming it on vaccines, because now the education is in the open. If you go to the hospital, right from 1 month old, there are questionnaires that you answer. Is the child, is the child able to do this and that and that? Because it's not only about speech, it's not only about behaviors, it's also about their motor skills. Are they able to do some things? Is the child able to, did they crawl when they were supposed to crawl? So they make you fill some forms right from 1 month till 18 months. So at 18 months, if they, even 3 years old, but at 18 months, if the child is not able to do certain things and has no speech also, then the doctors will recommend that they do a speech screening, or they see someone with, they see a speech language pathologist to do an evaluation to see if they have a speech delay. That's one. And then they'll go see a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, who would also evaluate them and see if they are on the autism spectrum or not. So speech delay does not necessarily mean the child is on the autism spectrum, but there are other evaluations that they do that would, you know, say that this child is on the autism spectrum. And based on that, you can start services. I know that applied behavior analysis, that's right now the evidence-based intervention that people use to help treat autism. I don't say it's a disease, but, you know, it's more like, you know, trying to get, help them to also communicate and become socially functional. And ABA, speech therapy, occupational therapy, feeding therapy also helps them to try other foods to be able to eat. And sometimes I wonder, why do they not want to try certain foods?
What could be the cause?
Right. So that's something I'm looking into now.
Yeah.
That I don't know why they are also picky eaters, because that has nothing to do with, being socially interactive or so I'm trying to find out why. But I was a picky eater too when I was little. That's why I think that I may be on the autism spectrum, because I was also an exceptional student. And most kids with autism who mostly go undiagnosed are very smart kids, and people might not, because they speak, they're smart, they don't have any behaviors. They go undiagnosed, right? But these are certain things that you can fish out to say that, oh, well, if they had gotten services, maybe they would have been better with certain things, right? Sometimes I want to be in my own space. I don't want anyone to be around me. I don't want to go. I'm very social, but sometimes I also want to have my own space. So, these are some of the things we have already talked about, clearly distinguishing between someone with a speech delay and someone who is on the autism spectrum. Speech delay is just someone, they understand a lot, they don't have any behaviors, they are able to respond to their name immediately. Normally kids have so many behaviors. That does not necessarily mean that they are on the autism spectrum. Like I said, a 2-3-year-old, they are still learning the world. So sometimes they'll have a meltdown over, or just because they said they want an ice cream, and you said, well, you need to eat this before you get the ice cream. That will result in a whole meltdown. It doesn't necessarily mean they are on the autism spectrum, but there are so many other behaviors that come together. And you need a professional to diagnose and say, oh, I did this and that and that. They see how the kid even plays with a toy, a baby. Would a typical kid, when he's given a baby, will try to feed them or do. A kid on the autism spectrum will just throw the baby somewhere or just do something that's not functional with that item. And I see that a lot with the kids I work with. A typical kid will find a bottle. If you give a bottle and a baby to that kid, they will immediately feed the baby. A kid on the autism spectrum will not do that. So these are what the professionals look at, and they're able to. So if you are able to diagnose your kid early and get them into early intervention, trust me, ABA is one-on-one. ABA services is one-on-one. It's different. I know they're trying to also set up a system in the school system to help kids with autism, but that's not one-on-one. You will find a self-contained class with paraprofessionals, and then special education teachers, and then like a main teacher. But ABA is a one-on-one, and it's an individualized plan for that person based on their needs. Like I said, autism is a spectrum. Someone with level 1 will have different goals from someone with level 3, level 2. So you do a mix: ABA, speech therapy, occupational therapy, feeding therapy, and then they go to school. So when they are in the same classroom with typical kids, they are able to learn their behavior. They are able to learn how they communicate.
Can an adult also see themselves acting in certain ways that they may feel that they are under the autism spectrum? And do you think they should go to be diagnosed?
Absolutely. There are adults who were recently diagnosed. Even like me, I said I probably should maybe do an evaluation on myself. Because there are so many adults going around who were undiagnosed. Some of them cannot handle pressure. Some of them get so upset at certain things. Some of them are not able to maintain relationships, and it's not their fault, because they just don't have that social. Yes, they don't have the social ability. Thank you for that word. So there are they do that. There are actually surveys on Facebook, on websites. They tell you to fill this and see if you're on the autism spectrum. So being an adult, you still can, and that can help you because you get the resources to help you, thrive. There are so many adults. You start a conversation with them, they are talking about something else. Like, let's say we are having this conversation, right? It's flowing, and all of a sudden, I went to Florida to go buy a car. How has that got to do with this? So there are so many people, adults, going about undiagnosed. And yes, if they are able to get diagnosed and get the help they need, they definitely are going to thrive. There are so many people who are single, who are alone, and it's because they are on the spectrum. They don't want anyone in their space. And there are people they call socially awkward. This guy is very awkward. He's a nerd. There's a word they use for adults who act like that. So yeah, there are so many people going about undiagnosed, especially in our part of the world. Because we're not open to these things. So with us, someone who is on the autism spectrum is someone who is deaf and dumb, or someone who has a certain look. As long as you're up, you're talking, you're good, they don't think that you most likely might be on the autism spectrum. So yeah, that's very possible. And there are people who do that. That's why they have counselors for adults. They have all those psychologists. They are able to diagnose. There are adults who get diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah, so definitely that's also a possibility.
Okay. I see people not wanting to relate with people under the autism spectrum.
So it's all about education. Even some parents who have kids on the spectrum do not want to accept it. So when their kids act in a certain way, they want to beat it out of them. We all need education. And I'm glad that you have this platform where you're educating people about it. People on the autism spectrum, they're not, it's not something that they don't have to be shunned. They don't have to be punished. It's not their fault that they are born that way. And they are the most smartest, sweetest people. They just have social interaction issues. And if we are patient with them, we have to be patient with them and try to see where they are coming from. If we put ourselves, we have to be empathetic. Put ourselves in their shoes. This morning we were having a meeting. Imagine you have a video game you're playing, and then someone comes, cut the power. Would you be happy?
No.
So if you were ostracized, if you were isolated, just because you have, you're different from someone, would you be happy?
No.
So it's just the education that needs to be done more. People need to be accepting of autism. And I'm glad that we have months where we celebrate autism awareness. And yes.
Which month?
April.
Wow.
And it's coming up soon. And there are so many platforms on social media now that are discussing autism and the fact that we need to help. Because some parents are struggling. Because who wants their kid? Nobody wants their kid to play with a kid who has isolated themselves, or a kid who would smack another kid. But we just have to, learn, accept, and then be able to help our kids to also be nice to these kids, because they're already dealing with a lot. They're dealing with emotional outbursts, they're dealing with meltdowns, they're dealing with sensory overload. Sometimes you don't know what to do with yourself. Can I lay on the floor and roll myself? That's gonna help me. And that's why we also need to, there are so many things, sensory toys, bubbles, calming things that can calm these people. If we are able to educate ourselves of all these, we will be able to relate very well with people on the autism spectrum. And the world is going to be a beautiful place. Because these people they are the most smartest, and they observe all these things. So, if we try to do that, they go back into their shell. And that's not...
It doesn't help.
Right. So it's just the education and acceptance. That's the most important thing. We need to accept that these people are different, but they are not less of humans. And we have to be empathetic. We have to do what we want to be done to us, to them. So that's what I would say. In summary, just be empathetic, be accepting, and then just show them love.
In the workplace, how can the place be set up to make it more autism friendly?
Excellent. So I follow a child with autism on Facebook, and he's 19. He works in...
Not just, sorry for cutting, not just in the workplace, in church, and a lot of places, like social gatherings and all that. what can be done?
So there should be inclusion. There's a church in Jessup that has a space for kids with autism or adults. Like and these days I see even recently, okay, so Easter is coming up. They are going to go Easter egg hunting.
Yeah.
They have a sensory friendly area for that. So that's what most companies should also do, that they should have a sensory area for people with autism.
Yeah.
They should have scheduled breaks for them, because they get overstimulated with so many things being thrown to them at once.
Okay.
So they get scheduled breaks. And then people with autism need like visuals to help them, with their day, breaking down tasks into smaller activities or steps for them.
Yeah.
If we are able to put all of these things in place, and I like that a lot of people are being enlightened. Most companies are being disability friendly.
Yeah.
They're putting up so many things that will make people with autism comfortable.
Yeah.
If you, it's not a lot, but people have started, and we can all do that.
Adapt.
If you go to the Children's Museum in Pula, they have a whole sensory place for kids with autism, and it's something we can do everywhere. Even in school, like I said, they have one that's called a collaborative class. So that has both kids with on the autism spectrum and typical kids in one classroom. And then they also have a self-contained classroom where they have kids on autism spectrum, but they also have people who support them. Even if they have homework or whatever, they support them. They give them one-on-one help to be able to do that. And we can do that at the workplace too. The goal is for everyone to be independent, right? And that's why we need early intervention to help these kids grow and gradually become independent. But there are people who may still need extra support. So that's why these offices, churches, they should all have sensory inclusive activities in the workplace, at church, wherever, in the communities where people on the autism spectrum will also feel supported. So I think it's basically just, having inclusion for them, making sure that things that make them comfortable, things that will help them to thrive, to be able to reach their maximum potential, we are putting it in place, we are including them I like the way things, like some people are doing things, they're including them, they're doing a whole bunch of education, and I think they should make it mandatory for churches, for communities, for schools, for places of work to have a sensory place. The Atlanta Aquarium has a sensory lane. So many people are, trying to be inclusive and do things to make them comfortable. So these are some of the things we can do.
Wow. I wish we wouldn't bring this to a conclusion. I'm really learning a lot, and I believe you are also learning a lot. There's one thing that I want to ask, because she has shared a lot, and I believe she has a desire for the autism community. In 10 years, what do you expect, or what do you desire, or what do you want to see happening in our society?
So we've talked about most of them, but I want to also emphasize support for families.
Okay.
It is very hard. I know families who have gone through divorce because they have kids on the autism spectrum. It is not for the weak. It is hard. Some kids do not sleep all night. They stay awake all night, and the parents have to imagine having to stay up all night with your kid, and the next day you have to go to work. And you've tried so many things that work, you have disagreements with your partner. So I feel like in the decade, we should see more support from not just the government, from individuals, from organizations, on how to give these parents a break. I know some insurance companies have respite care where you can get about 40 hours a month for someone to come, watch your child, so you can go somewhere and, have your peace of mind, have a break. Get coffee, meet friends, because it's hard. Most parents with kids on the autism spectrum do not work. Because it's a 24-hour job for them. to take care of their kids.
Yeah.
So they also need a break.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll have a mental breakdown, and the cycle continues.
Yeah.
You know, so we should have something like that. And I know some insurance do support that, giving respite care. The government should do more. Individuals should do more. There should be more support. There should be more education for people to accept, for people to support. There are kids with autism who even get to the playground and everyone leaves.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
You guys should stop that.
So we need that education. So that's what I want to see in the future, more education, more support for families.
Yeah.
Even, you know, I know some insurance companies also do give stipends, especially Medicaid, for some of these parents, but it's not enough because imagine living on $500 or $1,000 a month because you're not able to work. For those who have kids who are level 3, most of them don't have any support. So we need all of these support. We also need, like we mentioned earlier, greater inclusion in schools, workplaces, and society. We need that. They should include, and I'm glad that I said the aquarium, so many public places, especially playgrounds, zoos, they all have sensory-friendly places for kids and even adults on the autism spectrum. And we also need self-advocacy, and early intervention should be open to everyone. You shouldn't have to have insurance to be able to have that. And I'm glad that's why we have all these government programs, but they're not enough. So, you know, people, private individuals should come together, build something for especially in Africa, you know, where resources are limited for kids on the autism spectrum. I mean, here, people are fortunate you can have insurance pay for your ABA services. What about back home? If your child is diagnosed with autism and they are not able to afford applied behavior analysis services, what happens to them? See, so the parents should also be empowered to be able to help their kid. Because, of course, these interventions are all there, but you, the parent, you're also your number one advocate for your child. You should also teach them. So parents also need to be equipped. They need to be taught. There's so many things. They need help. I know there's one woman on Facebook. She mostly has to come to America to be trained to help her child. But we can do these. We can support ourselves. All these international organizations, all these organizations in Africa, most of them can do all these things about autism awareness, autism education, inclusion. All of us must come together to help so that these individuals can thrive. And then the world will be a better place. If that happens, there will even be less burden for everyone because then they will be independent. So you don't have to, you know, stop what you're doing to help. They will be independent, and gradually, you know, people will outgrow it. And then I know it's something that lives with people on the spectrum for life, but they can at least function. They can live life to their maximum potential.
Thank you very much. So, to sum it up, autism does not have a particular look. And when you see someone under the autism spectrum, be nice to them, be patient, relate with them well, put yourself in their shoes. They need you just as you need someone. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any question, you can leave your question under the comment section. Share, because we need to educate the world. Thank you so much.
You are so smart. How was it?
Wow.
If you have not lived it,